Hey, Rolling 20 fans, this is G, and I'm here to tell you today about a new sponsor for our show, Casey's Irish Pub. This is an honest-to-God Boston or Chicago-style Irish pub located in downtown Los Angeles. They serve cooked food, 11 kinds of beer, and 49 different Irish whiskeys from 3 different distilleries. What does that mean? That means if you're looking for a good drink during a Los Angeles convention, you don't have to go far. If you're headed to Los Angeles for E3, Kamikaze, Anime Expo, the Los Angeles Car Show, or one of the hundreds of events happening near the Staples Center, then a good meal and a glass of Guinness is just a short walk away. Jeremy, the loud guy who won't shut up when we do our own podcast, he actually ate there during the last Anime Expo, and he said this. Forgive me if I don't sound like the guy. I went to Casey's Pub looking for a place to bring people for a good night of food and found it when I was driving people on my way back to the Los Angeles Convention Center. We went back and I had the best steak pot pie in my life down there. My wife had a good whiskey to sip, and 8 of us had fun talking and eating in a place that looked like it belonged in a movie. Casey's just a couple of blocks from the Westin Bonaventure. That means it's close to one of Anime Expo's own shuttle stops. We're even hosting a photo shoot there during the 2014 Anime Expo. If you want more details on that, email us at mspfreight@yahoo.com. Hey, so do yourself a favor. And don't stock up on bad beer and try to mix something sitting at the desk of your hotel room. Ride the elevator, get off at the Bonaventure, and walk to Casey's Irish Pub to get some drinks by their bartenders. Make some new memories and have some fun. We want to see you there.
Hello, everybody. This is Anthony, be honest, on Mission Star Podcast, and we have another episode of the Conover. This week, we're going to be talking about Kraken Con, and for that person to join me tonight is Robbie, freelancer extraordinaire, who went out and covered Kraken Con for us. Hello there.
How's it going?
Doing pretty well. I can assume that by this time that everybody's listening to us, everybody in San Francisco and the Bay Area are very happy right now. The Giants won. Still going to the World Series, so there's that.
Yeah, go Giants. Sport's better than the other guys.
But speaking of the Bay Area, you went and attended Kraken Con in Oakland several weeks ago. So this is the second Kraken Con that's happened this past year, and I went, and I remember hearing that you went as well. I didn't go this time around, just due to, other things got to take care of. So, what was different this second one than it was from the last one?
So this Kraken Con was in the same place, had mostly the same setup, though they did make a few changes and improvements. Like last year, there were some issues with the panel room not having any listings of what's going on where, and they definitely fixed that this time around. But I would say that the biggest cause for the larger draw that this convention got than last time was the guests that they brought in. They brought in Caitlin Glass, known for doing Winry in Full Metal Alchemist and Haruhi in Ouran High School Host Club. They brought in Matthew Mercer, the voice of Levi in Attack on Titan, and of course Eric Stewart, who voiced pretty much everything in the 90s Saturday mornings.
Nice, awesome. As far as special guest wise, that's not bad of a lineup to have. I was also seeing a lot of ads on Facebook and on Twitter about Kraken Con and who's coming and the events that were added on to the event. So correct me if I'm wrong. It was still held in the same place. Did they expand at all, or was it just kind of the same space they're using last time is the same this time.
It was the same location. I believe they had like one room upstairs for the additional panels, so
Oh,
slight
okay.
expansion, but not too much.
Okay. Because the thing that kind of the thing that I mean I give I give Kraken Con just a little bit of space in terms of like they're starting out, there's kind of feeling how things are, and they're kind of exploring what exactly how far they can take it with the hotel and how big of an audience they can bring in. So it's good to hear that they have some more room in the upstairs at least to expand for the panels. Um, the,
And for a relatively new convention, they're growing at a very nice rate. They've got a good track record. Word of mouth is spreading. People are going, oh, hey, I hear this con is pretty good. I'll check it out. And it's definitely working.
Awesome. Speaking of the attendance, off chance, have you heard any numbers have came out for this last one that happened? Or
I cannot recall the numbers offhand, but I know the numbers were big, much bigger than last year. Just walking around, you could tell it was a lot more crowded. There were a lot more people, and they were all, drawn in by what they'd heard about it and the guests that they wanted to see. And it definitely looked like people were having a good time.
okay, awesome. It's great to hear. In terms of what other events they had lined up, Masquerade or the Maid Cafe or any of those other things, you happen to check those out when you were there?
So you brought up the masquerade. That's an interesting thing. They didn't actually have a masquerade, so to speak. They had a costume contest, and they had a talent show the next day. And the two did not have any crossover. It wasn't like you'd enter the costume contest and you could do a skit there. If you wanted to do a skit, you would go to the talent show, which I did, but the talent show was like half singing, half dancing, and then there was one skit group. Naturally, we did not win because it was just a straight first, second, third prize. There wasn't any categories. So people who wanted to do masquerade skits were kind of out of luck, but the costume contest was great, and the talent show was also fine, and the audience was really supportive, which was definitely nice.
I was interesting because I remember hearing about that when people were coming back from Kraken Con. That's interesting. What do you honestly think about that idea of having it separate a talent show and a costume contest?
I like the idea of having a talent show. It's, basically open to whoever thinks they've got something to show for it. However, I do feel that either expand the masquerade to include skits, put that part into the costume contest, or include different categories for the talent show, because it was definitely not something that was skit-friendly, like I've been saying. I think that's something that I would like to see them change, but I still like the idea of having a separate talent show that's different from the masquerade.
Yeah, because like normally for people like us who've been to conventions over the years, generally when we think of the masquerade, we think of everything that includes dancing and skits and singing all in one big event. So it is an interesting thing as far as like Kraken Con taking in a different direction. What to wait and see as far as like how exactly that goes for its future shows and events. But it's interesting, no doubt, and that's definitely not to overlook. In terms of the way that the convention was set up, because I remember last time when I was there, it was in majority of everything was in one big room. I would.
That was still the case.
Hmm?
That was still the case this time around.
Oh, okay. Was there any difference that they had this time around? Did they shift anything as far as like where the anime viewing side is, or like did they shift where the maid cafe was at, or was everything pretty much in the same place as it was last time?
Just those things you mentioned. They did both of those. There were some shifts and movements around. They put the maid cafe and the screening rooms on opposite sides, and they still had really nice placement with the screening room, so you could hear the anime just fine without it projecting into everything else.
Mm-hmm.
The maid cafe was, I think, a little larger this time around. They still had the stage for performing, singing, dancing with the maids. The panel room, they kind of took away one of the walls for that, so people passing by could see the panels as they go on in there, which did make it easier to just drop in, sit down, check it out, and either stay there or move along. Though it did occasionally lead to some sound issues because they had the video gaming room right next to that. But for the most part, it still worked nicely.
Right, definitely. And okay, so I was curious about that. Yeah, I definitely would. I would definitely see it being a problem when it comes to audio issues if the door is always open and people can walk in. That's the cool part about it. But the problem is that if it gets too loud, then you can't really hear people talking unless you're up in the front. But that's an interesting. That's an interesting thing they're doing. In terms, speaking of gaming, now I remember I think I talked to you or somebody else last time, and I remember hearing that the reason why there wasn't particularly much in fighting games that were there is because of some sort of law in Oakland or something to that nature where the convention couldn't allow those type of games. So just out of curiosity, was the game area the same as it was last time, or was there more variety this time around than there was last time?
There were a few fighting games being played there this time. Those were most of the console stuff that I saw. They also still had a lot of area spaced off for Just Dance being projected on a large screen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what most of the crowd was there for. But there were plenty of people playing the games there. They gave it more of a space than they did last time around. Because like I said, they put it right by where the panel rooms were, so
Mm-hmm.
more room there.
Okay. Speaking of the amount of people that were there, um, you said that it was pretty crowded, and I believe Kraken Con this time was a 2-day event, right?
That it was.
So out of those 2 days, the amount of people, did it feel like one day was more crowded than the other? Were you able to walk around and able to have elbow room to some sense?
Saturday is always the busiest day. This was still the case, but I would say that both days were more or less to the same amount of crowds. Occasionally I kind of got stuck waiting for people to move or trying to get by some people, but it still wasn't exactly at, oh god, I can't move levels of crowding.
Right, gotcha. Okay, that's good to hear. I mean, because like oftentimes, sometimes when it gets very crowded, especially at a small convention, like it'd be hard to like move around sometimes, and having that space kind of freely, at least walk through an aisle without bumping into five people, would be great. But that's good. It's great to hear. I assume that the artist alley was in the back, as always, or like last time.
Yep, Artist Alley was kind of along the back wall with a few rows heading out to the side, near the dealers as well, though, but good amount of artists there.
Okay. Was for the dealers area, was I mean I'm not I mean obviously like I'm not gonna keep track of like who exactly was there, but like did it seem like the same people that were there last time were there this time around?
Yeah, pretty much the same people from the looks of it, give or take like the smaller vendors who come and go, but it seemed to be mostly the same.
Okay. I while walking around and kind of checking out what was going on for those 2 days, what was like? Was there any particular cosplays that stood out to you that just like made you have like that, oh my god moment, I had to take a picture type of deal?
Let's see. There were plenty of good cosplayers there, they brought out their A game for the contest. I would say that the most notable ones, in my opinion, was a Furby. There was a Furby cosplayer.
Hmm.
Oh, and let's see. You can find her on Facebook as well. I know her. She is Miss Haven Cosplay.
Awesome.
Yep. And also there was another friend of mine who was cosplaying as Nina from Full Metal Alchemist when she was already turned into the Chimera. So
Uh,
made a lot of people sad. That's
oh, I think I might have seen that picture.
Azrael cosplay. Yeah,
I think I'm.
Azreale, however that's pronounced, cosplay.
Got,
Another friend of mine.
gosh, awesome.
Let's see. Yep. I also saw someone doing Freddie Mercury, which was quite cool. I liked that one.
That's great.
I don't know who that cosplayer was, but I still appreciated it. He did, hand shooting to the sky, looking down pose that's been turned into a meme recently.
Awesome.
And there was the Fox from Five Nights at Freddy's, who I saw walking around.
Sick.
And the cosplayer got really into character, got the movements down really nicely, just kind of had robotic jerking and moving around while looking every which way. Very in character. It definitely added a lot to it.
Man, out of the games recently that people have like automatic latched onto, like Five Nights at Freddy's, say times five times fast. Like I'm
Five
surprised.
Nights at Freddy's, Five Nights at Freddy's, Five Nights at Freddy's, Five Nights at Freddy's, Five Nights at Freddy's. Booyah!
Like I am surprised how fast that has caught on and like how already cosplays have come out already.
Yeah, it's incredibly popular, and I think that's pretty cool because it's a clever game.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've seen some gameplay footage of people playing it. It's really cool. I totally dig that people just automatically like make these costumes immediately as soon as like the game's released, like within a couple of days or weeks. It's really cool, and those are the type of things that are pretty awesome. But going back to one of your friends cosplay who dressed up as Nina in the Chimera form, like I saw a picture of that, and that was really good. And then, cause like I thought for a second that was like I thought it was like a prop. Like I thought it was like just kind of like something like somebody brought over and made and brought with them to the con. But apparently, no, it's a cosplay. That's really
Yep.
really cool.
Oh, yeah, incredibly impressive. Her eyes lit up. She had the voice modulator. It was very well done.
I wish there was a video. I mean, I wish there was a video of her so I can see that in action. It just sounds so cool. Wow, that's awesome. Um, in terms of the 2 days you were there, was there any moment that kind of stood out to you? You know, it could be funny, it could be a good moment or anything of that nature, like happened during the weekend when you were there.
Let's see. I took some time to interview one of the guests there that wasn't one of the big name guests, but still, voice actress. She was there. Had a booth. Nikki Rapp. She was on Tales of Monkey Island. She does a lot of voices for The Sims. She was Lily in the Walking Dead game. So I had a quick 3-question interview with her, and she is just the sweetest person you will ever speak to. And I've met a lot of people, so just incredibly kind, happy, sincere. You could tell she was glad to be there, and that was pretty much the highlight of my weekend. Just talking to someone with that kind of a positive attitude.
Awesome. I saw that video that you put within your review. Where was she like located? Like, where did they station her? Like on the convention floor?
She had a table that was kind of in between Artist Alley and the dealers, so still on the dealer's side, but close to the artists.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, she definitely does seem like a very, very sweet person. From the interview you did, and I don't blame you. Like, she's pretty cool. What was I gonna say actually? Oh man, lost train of thought. So, when you were there, in terms of like the food areas around the convention, now there are I remember if you walk down a ways, there's about a good like kind of restaurants on a corner like in this or a bunch of like Chinese restaurants. But like where did you go for your food like to get like what was your kind of mainstays in terms of that general area?
Let's see. Saturday, I went to this Japanese restaurant that was just like a few blocks away.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty good. Line wasn't too bad. They had good ramen. They didn't have beef ramen, which is a shame, but still, good stuff, good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, I just went down to Subway. Quick, cheap, affordable, that sort of thing. Edible.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think the one thing I've learned over the years is like if there's a particular restaurant that is like kind of your go-to area in terms of like if you don't feel like going anywhere else, it's generally like whatever food area. For me at Fanime, it's always that Burger King or that burger place at the end of the street right in front of the San Jose University that I usually go to if I don't want to go anywhere else. But that's cool, awesome. Generally when these conventions do happen, like the general area in terms of business goes up because people have money and they're in costumes and they want to go eat at certain times. So,
Yep, we help the economy by investing in local businesses and buying their food.
oh yeah, definitely, definitely. But that's
Also, one thing that Kraken Con did food-wise was they had little flyers with all the nearby locations that people could go to, as well as listing the prices that they had. Well, not the exact prices, but $1 for affordable, $2 for a little expensive. So, it was very convenient for people who were trying to decide where to eat, where to go, what to do about food. A nice touch, very nice touch.
I remember hearing about that too. Actually, that's really cool. I totally dig that. Was there anything else did they put in within the booklet or anything else that they had, I guess, made it easier for people to kind of walk around or know what's going on in terms of like anything else that in terms of the same style they did with the food?
Let's see. Well, they did have a scavenger hunt, which isn't exactly food related, but it was still a nice thing that you could pick up there that was good for killing some time and also helped out the artists and vendors because you would have to find their tables and get a stamp from there, so good way to bring in traffic.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, cool. What was just by curiosity? Do you know what was the prize for a scavenger hunt?
Candy, you get a little bag of candy.
Ah, okay. I see. So caffeine. All right. Um, so uh, in terms of, I'm trying to think. I was going to ask something else, but totally lost train of thought. Um, I'll just say this. What is your overall thoughts on Kraken Con? What work? What Actually, never mind. I got my questions back. My bad. Okay, so panels. Did you attend any panels?
Yes, I attended the Makeup Tips and Tricks for Body Paint and Photos panel early on Saturday. It was hosted by Dynamic Cosplay Couple. They're, well, that's the name they use on Facebook. They're really nice people that I met at Big Wow when they were doing their Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy cosplay that were like totally, body paint for anything that wasn't covered with clothes. They're really good with the makeup, learning to, well, changing their features with them, getting the body paint just right, so it was quite educational.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Um, cool. What was it crowded in the room for this panel, or was there like people?
Because it was so early, it took a while for them to draw on a crowd, but they had a respectable sized audience after just a little while ago. After a little bit.
Cool. Did you happen to go to any other panels when you were there?
No, I didn't stop by any of the other panels. That was the one that I told them I would be at. Otherwise, I was just walking around and seeing if there's anything that caught my interest, but I didn't sit down for an extended amount of time for any of the other ones.
Okay. How was the staff at Kraken Con?
Let's see. I know some of the staff members that helped put it together, and they were quite nice, and they would always, stop and say hi, make sure everything is going good. They were always busy, of course, but that's to be expected.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any problem from any of the volunteers or the staff members there. It all seemed to go pretty well.
Okay. From my brief experience with them last time I was there, they were pretty friendly. They were a pretty welcoming group. When I went to get my press pass and I was kind of asked a question where to get it, they told me the direction where I needed to go to, and then they helped me out from there. So it is definitely they're definitely a very chill group. It seems that they got their act together and they have a good head on their shoulders. So I everything you said, I definitely agree. So overall thoughts, overall kind of what worked, what didn't work, and would you come back again for the next one?
Let's see. What worked? It was a good, solid convention. Well organized, ran well, plenty to do. For the most part, they definitely provided some things that helped pass the time. What didn't work, I would say that they weren't prepared for such a large crowd, so they could have stood to get a little more space there, but live and learn. And I will definitely, keep going back as long as they keep having it. It's still a newish convention. There's still plenty of growing to do, plenty of room to improve. I did bring up the masquerade thing not having really a place for skits. That's something I'd like to see change, but I'm kind of biased because I like skits.
Right,
But
right.
I will definitely keep going as long as they keep up this quality.
Okay. The question that comes to mind real quickly as you're talking about it is that as time goes on and as Kraken Con, from what I've been hearing and seeing, maintain this quality and grows bigger and bigger, with the hotel that they're at, do you think that they'll eventually going to be using more space of it when it gets bigger? And if so, do you think that hotel is equipped well enough to hold a mass amount of people, say 2-3 years from now?
For the time being, I'm going to say yes. There is still space in the convention center they have yet to use. There's still plenty that they can use. I think it has the facilities for a continually growing crowd. I would say that it also depends on how fast the convention grows. There is always a chance that it will get too big too quickly and they'll have to change spaces sooner than expected. But, you gotta be prepared and adapt.
Definitely, definitely. I think the thing that comes to mind when it comes to these small conventions, especially with the positive popularity that, especially for Kraken Con, is that I'm thinking that eventually, when or if they do get bigger rather quickly, in terms of attendance, that to move to another bigger place. Now, I'm going to assume they probably stay in Oakland since that's where they started. But in terms of where exactly they moved to, I don't know. Like I'm curious to see where exactly their plans as far as like it becomes a more bigger thing in the near future. But that's we're not future we're not misfortunes, so we can't really uh, we can't really predict the future. And if we did, we'd be both be millionaires by now. But um,
And I'm still working on that TARDIS.
yes, yes, definitely. Well, thank you, Robbie, for joining me to talk about KrakenCon and your experience there.
Absolutely.
And before we go, where can they find you on the internet?
Alright, so you can find me writing for several websites. I contribute to Geek HQ with the E as in geek spelled with the letter 3. I write for California Conventions blogs. I've started writing for Green Tea Graffiti. You can also find me on Twitter and YouTube as Elite Slayer X. And on Facebook, I've got a cosplay page as Ryoga Rocket.
Awesome, awesome. And again, for those who have not seen it, Robbie did a review for us for KrakenCon, and I suggest you guys go read it. It's a great read. Definitely check it out. Um, as for myself, you can follow me on Twitter at Defective Naruto. You can follow the work that I do and the rest of my crew at missionstarpodcast.com. You could follow the work that yeah, that's about it. Just be on the lookout for other stuff in terms of like future reviews of future games coming up. We are in the season of games being released in this fall, and there's plenty of it. But yeah, aside from that, that's gonna do it for us. So, anyways, again, thank you, Robbie.
Thanks for having me.
And with that, we will see you all next time. Hello, everyone. This is Anthony Be Honest from the Mission Start Podcast. And if you enjoy listening to this podcast, as well as our other ones on our website, you can now hear us on Stitcher. You can now hear our show as well on the go with Stitcher Smart Radio, on-demand news, talk, and more on your mobile phone. The latest episodes always available for you, no syncing needed, and no money or storage wasted. Available on your iPhone, iPad, Android phones, and beyond. Downloading is easy. Go to Stitcher.com or check out your app store. Stitcher, Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.